Hi guys, it's me, Carrie Silver Lining Mena, and this is take two of the last episode. The original one was so long and I rambled so much, so I'm gonna try not to do that so much. I made myself a new list, condensed list, so I can condense my story here. I'm just gonna jump right in. Um, First of all, don't freak out. You guys like freaked out on the internet when I said I just recorded my last episode. Don't worry. I got more stuff in the works, but I feel like in order to start fresh, I got to wrap this one up. I'm done with my old story. And I guess briefly, I didn't put this in my list, but try not to deviate too much. I feel like I've gone through and tell me, kind of see if you recognize this too, because I feel like if you're watching this, that you're on the same trajectory. Let me push this back a little. Maybe it's fucking with the microphone. I don't know. And so if that's true, then you're going to be somewhere like maybe finished with shedding false beliefs. I don't know. And now we're moving on to the next phase. Let me see if I like how I ordered my biz here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I don't want to get too crazy going back and forth, even though it's really hard for me to tell my story without doing that because it's not chronological. There's things mixed up back and forth, and some things I could pull back from a decade ago that would be relevant right now, which was the mistake I made in the first video. I was throwing in too much stuff, but even so, feeling like I left out plenty as well. Okay, so so I got that out of the way. I do have a new show in the works I have for a long time, and it's probably going to be similar to this, but because I have evolved into my next, I believe, like phase, it's going to be a little different. I'm trying so hard to like create a like with not graph, I guess graphics, I don't know, like a new banner for Facebook and YouTube. And anyway, I like to do it, but it's hard for me to plug it in like to the space provided. I don't know how to do that stuff, but I'll figure it out. So, kind of new show. And like the last one, when I started, I didn't know what I was going to do. I really wasn't sure. But you got to open the door. You got to start somewhere. And I had success with the last one. So I'm just going to do the same thing. Just roll with it. I have some ideas for the first few episodes, all about me again. And then we'll see what goes from there. Okay, so in the last video that I just scrapped, I shared about an event I'm thinking about hosting, but I shared it at the end of the video, and there's no way people are going to watch that whole thing. You guys might not even watch this thing. It's very possible. So let me tell a little bit about it right now. Is that makeup or a shadow? I don't know. Okay, so ooh, I don't want to make this story long, but there is, so I'm not gonna, but there's like a whole like string of events that made me go from, ew, I will never host another event ever again. It's a lot of work. But I'll show up somebody else's, is what I said to myself. But then through some information I got here and there, I was a little bit inspired to go ahead and try it, but change it up a little bit. I used to put way too much effort in. I don't think I need to do that this time. So I'm thinking about next spring hosting an event here in Spring, which is just north of Houston, pretty easy airport to get to. And my first thought is to keep it short and simple and just have like a Saturday event. People are welcome to come in earlier. We can hang out, whatever. But then I thought, if people are going to take the time to fly in, and I'm close enough to the airport that hopefully people can avoid renting cars as much as possible, or we can share rides, or I can send somebody to go get you, or we'll try, or you guys fly in at the same time. I mean, we've made these things happen before, but I'm just I'm really trying to think of ways for people to get the most for their time off from work and the money they're going to spend. If you're going to fly out to Houston, then I want to make it worth your while. So if it's something that people show a great interest in, I will rent a house and we'll do what we've done like with the Shiny Show and Stardust and just make it a giant sleepover. And we'll make one day, I want it to be about healing Um, I'll get to that. My next thing, if I'm in it, you're in it. Um, and then some things specifically that I want to do. But I don't feel the need to like fill up a whole weekend with spiritual stuff because it seems that many of the events I go to, a lot of the itinerary is just thrown out the window because we just want to talk and share stories. Because a lot of this is about camaraderie. And I feel like this will be like more, well, definitely learning and definitely healing. But a bigger piece to me is like having a soul family reunion. I miss hanging out with kindred souls and, meeting my friends that I've met online that do feel like a soul family. So I was thinking of, clever things to call it. I had one time my family threw me a care reunion. It was really nice, but I don't talk to my family anymore. I've been excommunicated. Or a fairy union, because, I'm Carrie Fairy, but that was kind of dumb. I want to do it beyond that. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but definitely healing with actually, I'll go ahead and share right now with a focus on, or at least one chunk about sexual healing. Because I feel like this is what motivates me for that. When I did Shiny in California at the Jesus House, I had like a group of women sitting at a table with me. And I don't even remember who it was, but if you were there, you may remember yourself sitting at the table. I just don't remember, but I know that we were all women. There were a few men at the event, but they weren't at this particular table. And each of them had a story of like sex abuse in some way. And I was like, back then I was so surprised. I mean, now it doesn't surprise me at all. I've learned a lot about humans, and I was clueless about like human trafficking. I thought that was something that was done in a different country a long time ago. I didn't know it was happening right in my own fucking city. I've had like my kids' friends have been kidnapped. Although the one girl that I met myself, I don't know what happened to her. I never got her story, but I saw her at Panera the other day, and I was so glad to see her. She was working there. So anyway, she got saved from whatever happened to her. Okay, but anyway, I feel like humanity, I do things at the same time as humanity at large over and over again. And I did process a lot of the sex stuff before, like during the Epstein and all that kind of stuff, and not even aware that that was going on because I was in my own little, fucked up, healing, crazy person world. Because I had that Mariana, that other consciousness inside of me. I don't think people understand how radical that was. I had two fucking people inside of me. I guess she's still inside me. I don't know. I want to understand what that is. I know I'm fully integrated at this point because I'm not, well, I just am. Um, but now I feel like, that, things come back in cycles. We need another like layer of healing, but I feel like this is more geared towards, you know, pedophile kind of stuff, children's sexual abuse. Um, and I didn't understand for a long time, like why, or for a short time, why that might appeal to me. Like, why am I doing the sex abuse? Because when I sat at that table, I did have one guy like flash himself when I was a little girl, and that was definitely inappropriate. But I'm not sure, like, if that's like reason to, was I abused? I don't know. But then, I thought about it later, and as a teenager, I had to relive that life as Mariana. I had to go back into that vibration so I could heal for us both. So when I was a teenager looking for love in all the wrong ways, that there is sexual trauma, being used and abused by men and boys looking for love. I have a lot of hurt in me still, I guess. And then I realized that I have some sex issues that I got to deal with too. So if that sounds familiar, if that rings true with you too, then this might be the event for you. If not, then like I said, that's just going to be like a chunk of it. You don't have to set your intentions for that. Or you can just help and contribute to the healing of the world of what's going on with all the crazy bullshit out there with, innocent people being victims of that kind of abuse. Um, But also, again, I want to make it about reconnecting. We haven't really had events since the pandemic. I haven't really heard of one. There hasn't been any kind of sleepover thing where we hang out and go on adventures. Houston has a few places we can check out, so we won't get bored here. Anyway, I didn't mean to take that long on those few things. Let me get started with my story. Oh, so go ahead in the comments and stuff. Please let me know if that's appealing to you and which one. Just a day, or would you really want me to like do a whole weekend? I'm glad to do either one, but I just want to know which one I should do. It's not even written in stone yet, but I feel like me putting it out there. Now it's done. Thanks a lot. Okay, so let me go all the way back to where I left off. Let me start there with my personal story. Hang on, I need a little bit of my cocktail. Hi, water, I love you. Thank you for healing me. I'm working on that. Gratitude for my water. Okay, so I left off just before I was going to go to Europe the last time to get more eye surgery, remember? And it was just interesting to me that I did an identical trip, an identical itinerary. Starting off in Germany, then going to Prague for eye surgery, then going to London and healing at both my friend Jane's house and then my friend Tracy's house. I was supposed to go to Sheila's, but the trains were not in my favor, and I was just trying to like listen to the feeling in my gut. I was feeling very nervous about going to her house. I'd have to like backtrack. It was just a mess. I don't want to go deviate on my stories. Anyway, I did not go see Sheila that time. So my two friends in England and then off to Amsterdam. And when I was in Amsterdam, like the year before, is when I was like boohooing a little bit because I didn't get to connect with Michael. And not that I had like an expectation of connecting with him, I definitely had a hope. However, I did have an expectation of him being a reasonable human being and messaging me back in a timely manner, which he didn't do. It took him like, I can't remember, it was 5 weeks or 7 weeks or something like that. It was many weeks from like October to December for him to message me back. It was just always so inconvenient for him whenever he thought about it. And that pissed me off because I'm not going to be anybody's inconvenience. But I was there, so I went ahead and, tried to make plans with him. He blew me off again, and I kept withdrawing because you can now unsend your messages. I unsent my message, and in my mind, I was done. I walked away. So I thought. So I went to Europe again, did the same thing, but that time instead of um, pining away and feeling disappointed and pissed off at him, like, and the guides too, because it's like, how many fucking times do I have to do the same fucking thing? So anyway, I was relieved to know that it was the last one. So what I did is, at my next trip to Amsterdam, I just went to this, like I did a bucket list thing, which was I always have like this bucket list of either going to like a fancy cafe and having a coffee and people watching and being all grown up like that. And then I had the same fantasy, I've done that a few times, the same fantasy except with a cocktail, a grown up drink. And a place like Amsterdam, I guess a lot of the European cities, Texas or America is only like that here and there, but all over the place they have like, you know, not seaside, it's sidewalk cafes to people watch and stuff. So I did that. And there I was. I got myself yet another pizza because that's all I'm safe with that. I don't always know all the menus. And even if you order something, it might not taste like you think it's going to taste because it's in a different country. But cheese pizza is pretty consistent. Because even, crappy cheese pizza is still pretty good. So, and this place I was at had great cheese pizza, and I ordered, let me see, I had to be a sparkling wine because I wasn't in France. So anyway, I had a glass of champagne and my pizza, and I sat there and with tears in my eyes, kind of, go spilling out of my eyeballs because there I was, my bucket list. I was so proud of myself because I went to Europe with no expectations of the twin. And just to let you know how the eye surgery went, let me see, let me get close. I'm on the floor because I'm going to tell you about that. You can't really see it. You can still see that I got like my lump or whatever. It's a little bit bumpier here. That didn't get fixed. But the skin underneath is much smoother. I feel like that mine was really, really old, maybe because I stretched it out from decades of crying. I don't know. But anyway, it's really quickly, when I was getting my surgery, Nobody told me that there was going to be some cauterizing going on, and I got really nauseous, and I had to stop in the middle and throw up. And the doctor yelled at me, and the nurse re-prepped me and tried to keep me from fainting. And anyway, I wasn't going to leave with only one eye done, so I got myself psyched up, and I laid back down, and I breathed through my mouth so I would not have to smell my own skin burning. And I did it. I did it. And that was a whole nightmare, the whole stitches and everything, because the doctor's supposed to take the stitches out, but I was long gone by the time they were supposed to come out. In fact, I was at my friend Tracy's house. Tracy does not have the best lighting. She lives in like a, a 200-year-old house or something. I mean, maybe it's only 80 years, but it's made from a long time ago in England when people were teeny tiny or something. I don't know. Everything's miniature in there. Like the stairs are narrow. It's so cute, but it doesn't have modern conveniences, and everything just feels like, I don't mean to say like dim in a bad way, but dim in a cozy way. Not bright and like this is. It's like drowning me out. I look kind of like a Lily Munster. But anyway, no bright lights at that house. So there I am with my flashlight and my kitchen or bathroom scissors and tweezers trying to cut out my own stitches, and I just couldn't. And okay, that's just a whole another long story. I'm not going to do it. Anyway, I do have some scarring because it fucked up, but whatever. I think I'm the only one that can see it. Okay, so what I'm going through right now, okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm going through right now, and then I'm going to share about my relationship with my husband and my relationship with my twin flame, Michael. I always call my husband Robert. I'm going to call him by his name, Robert. So, and I'm going to tell you how, how those two relationships helped me get to where I am right now. Because some things happened with both of them. So let me tell you where I'm at. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? This isn't the same. I know it's the same color wall that you're used to seeing me in, but this is not the same place. I moved out. I moved out of my house. Conveniently, I don't know if I got a chance to tell you guys, but my husband bought another house. He really wants to have a house for each kid, so we have 3 houses now. And this third house he got is in the same neighborhood as one of the rentals. Actually, the house I'm in right now is in between my other house and my mom's house. I'm gonna see her any time I know when I'm out walking my dog, because sometimes I steal my dog and bring her here. I don't live with my soba right now. Oh, oh. Um, so I'm here because I learned that I have been suffering in complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm filled with trauma. I remember Lisa Fry's guide Oz told me that my body was filled with trauma. And I'm like, what the fuck? I just worked for 10 years. Now you're telling me I'm still filled with trauma? Well, I am. And um, and I learned why. Let me see. Oh shit, I did forget part of the story. It'll come to me, it always does. So, I always talk about my experience, my relationship with my husband, how tumultuous it is. And I always defend him. One of the reasons I do that is because I am an empath and I see the good in people and I want to heal people. It's my thing. What I want most in life is peace on earth and peace in my family. That's what I've been striving for. And I didn't have it for a long time, but my husband Robert finally started to come around. And so I was so grateful for this because that meant I wasn't wasting my time anymore. And now we're doing this healing together. So I knew that at some point we were to become friends. So I tried to pursue, and he's on board with that. He knows he doesn't always, believe in the stories that I tell him about our future and stuff. Although I think at this point he probably believes it more than not. But it's always been my understanding that he and I would come back together as friends. So I'm trying to pursue this friendship with him and going out and, we're cheap. So we'd go to local happy hours And more often than not, at the end of them, I mean, we'd be having a great time, and then there'd be something dumb come up, and it would trigger one of us, and it would just start our same pattern of me trying to tell him something, of either just express myself or maybe share an observation with him, or maybe even, and probably even, try to, in the kindest, most non-parental way, instruct him on some kind of like parenting tip that he might do better. And we do have a history of me kind of teaching him how to be better, and he's been very grateful. He's learned a lot. The kids see it. We've all seen it. So again, like I said, there has been lots of growth. But when we go on these dates, inevitably he'd get his feathers ruffled. He'd find a way to take my words and twist them into an attack, and it would just cycle into this inevitable, shitty, bullshit, immature fight. And I just got tired of trying to explain to him that's not what I meant. And I'd get so pissed off because he'd get so mean, deflecting, interrupting, having zero respect for me. Not here. I don't know if he was like not understanding me or choosing to confuse things on purpose. I honestly still don't know, because while he's very intelligent in his own ways, I'm the one that has like the language skills and the communication skills and comprehension and all that. So I don't know if he just couldn't follow along, or if he just chose to pretend like he didn't get it so he didn't have to deal with it. I'm still unsure. But I finally got to the point where I'm like, you know what? He may have figured it out. He may know what's going on. And always, whether it was at the end of the fighting night, I'd scream it at him, or the next day when I'd come back to him and explain it when we're calmer. Either way, he would get to a point where he'd say, I see what you mean. I get it. I'm sorry. Or, whatever it was, he'd finally come to understand. And it would like, and I'd go like, why do we have to keep battling? Every single time we fight that you come to a place of understanding. It's like you knock down your thick ego and allow yourself to hear me so you can learn and grow. And I'm like, I got tired of being his tool to learn. I don't mind teaching. I feel like I'm teaching right now, just telling my stories and sharing what I've learned. Somebody might learn from my own experiences, but nobody's kicking my ass over it. I don't have to fight you. So I do like teaching. I just don't want to like have my blood pressure go through the roof and collapse in an exhausted pile of sweat, snot, and tears. I don't want to do that anymore. So I was like, you know what? You get it. You know what you're doing. You go learn on your own, because I'm done. And we both see he's on board enough to see how the universe works and how we set things up for ourselves. Because what had happened is that at the same time that my decision, and I haven't even really told him yet, but I'm planning stuff in my head. I have little like things put in motion. And I didn't plan on moving to this other house, but I did plan on leaving our bedroom. I've done it before, but I got uncomfortable in that room. It didn't have a good mattress, and I went back. Well, this time I moved the mattress into my other room, my healing room, where I usually do the videos. I always call it my healing room, but mostly it's just my video recording room, and it was the classroom during, the pandemic. It's not my room yet. And I cleaned it up, and I got it all ready for him to stay in instead of myself, because he had hip replacement surgery a couple months ago. We knew this was coming, and we knew this was coming, so we got everything ready. We put him in that other room because our bed is so high that I gotta have a stool to step on it to climb in, because not only is the bed high, but our new mattresses are really thick. So putting the mattress in there, he was right by a bathroom. He didn't have to walk as far. It just made sense for him to, what's that word? I can't remember. Heal whatever from his surgery, and he'd have to do um, physical therapy and stuff, and he couldn't drive for quite some time. So even though I had decided to leave, um, or sorry, decided to not even sleep with him anymore, or what not, okay, sorry, I'm getting it mixed up, because had decided to leave, but I had to take care of him still, and it was okay. I was glad to do it, because because we're living this unconventional life. We're destroying dogmas. We're dogma destroyers. And um, we did have a couple of little tiffs here and there, but one time, but okay, move on. So you know how the universe like brings you information when you're ready to have it. Well, the universe started bringing me all these reels about narcissists and narcissists and empath relationships, and then about attachment styles. Now, if you've never heard of that, which I can't believe I didn't, but then again, like I just said, the universe brings you information when you're ready for it. So if you've never heard or you don't understand attachment styles, go stick your nose in that. Because I mean, I'm going to have my kids study it as soon as I learn it better. It will like help explain so much about yourself, your relationships, so many things. For example, they have all these like names for it, and I might get mine wrong or his wrong. I might get it wrong, but I don't care. Just go with it. I think that my attachment style is an um, anxious something else attachment. Forgot what the other one was. And then like my husband's would be fearful avoidant. Maybe mine's fearful attachment. I don't know. I can't remember what they are. But for me, it's like I need to speak. I wasn't heard as a little girl. I mean, like I fit it to a T. I didn't, have a voice. I molded into everybody else's way of being and all this stuff. So now, now I'm wanting to find my own way, and I'm like conflicting with him. And then but even before, when I would need to, make things right and talk about it and emote and all this stuff, well, like I just got done saying, he's not the best communicator. So here I'd come at him and he'd feel overwhelmed. And even when I would just give him like a suggestion about how to like love me better, it didn't even have to be a big deal. Like something very, very simple, like when you come home, put your shoes over here because I keep tripping on them. That would make him get defensive because his attachment style was always being told that he was fucking up. So he went out of his way to become, I can't even remember. He's hyper independent. There's all these things. And so you can see if your partner is this way and you're this way, how they fit each other in like the worst of ways. How you keep on triggering each other and keep going on and on and on in this cycle. Man, if we had known this stuff when we were getting into relationships, then we can, reprogram ourselves at that time, or through therapy or whatever, or decide that, hey, this person is not going to be a good fit for me. But we never do that kind of stuff because we don't know. So attachment styles was one of the things I learned about myself. And because we were in this particular dynamic, while my husband, he's so loving, he's so caring, he's such a mother hen. He really is. It's like when I had my surgeries, for example, I mean, you couldn't get a better nurse to take care of you. I mean, it's like, quit fluffing my damn pillows. Enough with the chicken noodle soup or whatever it is. He'd go overboard. That's his love language. He doesn't have the kind of love language I have because he's not communicative, but he is very caring, whereas a full-blown narcissist is not. But for all intents and purposes, it doesn't matter because me being on the receiving end of his trauma responses to me, I may have well have been with a narcissist because it has done all of the damage that would have done. So all of this stuff, the fibromyalgia, the chronic fatigue, the fucked up fingers, the way I startle, the way I have to be outside, I always, just sit, I'm just cloud staring and inner working. No, I'm separating myself. I'm isolating myself. I can't clean. I can't focus. Going to the grocery store is such an intense operation for me. I come back from that exhausted. There are so many symptoms to trauma that I didn't even know. Here's another one. If you sleep like this, which I do, that's a trauma response. I also like to sleep like on my belly and on my side, kind of like somebody like took a snapshot of me in mid-run. I'm actually in a position of running while I sleep. It goes on and on and on, all of the trauma stuff. Oh, here's another one. Okay, so this has to do a little bit with Europe, not entirely, but during that time, again, I do things as the world at large does. I was told a long time ago, a few years ago, several years ago, that something's going to come around and I'm going to lose a bunch of weight really quickly. Well, when the Ozempic craze came in, I'm like, yay, that's it. I get to get on the medicine and lose a lot of weight quickly. Woohoo! Well, I did get on that medicine and I was having success, but I'm like a slow and steady wins the race kind of girl. It really wasn't dropping super quick for me. I was working hard. I was, exercising. I was eating right. I was doing all the right things. I even, got some and I brought it to Europe with me, which is a huge pain in the ass. I had to freeze it, and I had to there was just so much stuff. Not freeze it, but keep it on an ice pack. I had to buy a special container, like an insulin holder container thingy. A big old pain in the ass. Not only was that a pain in the ass, but it became expensive, and I'm cheap. A lot of money out of my pocket is a pain in my ass. Or, dealing with insurance was a pain in the ass. Even if insurance were to approve it, because my health got worse, they would take it right back once my health got within a certain range. So not only am I on a path to health and wellness and losing that weight and getting back into my Walmart pants, I'm also on a path to independence. And that drug was the opposite of independence. So I got a chance to ask Eric. I don't even remember through who, probably Heather, but I asked him, now what the fuck? And he said, just keep doing what you're doing. So I knew that something else was going to come up, or maybe I misunderstood or my path changed, but I clung to that thing of just keep doing what you're doing. And then the other message I got was something's going to happen that's going to cause you to lose a lot of weight really quickly. Well, that's what I'm doing right now, because another symptom of being in constant trauma, I live in constant state of trauma. Remember all those messages? I have to learn how to tame my wild emotions. I have to self-regulate because my nervous system is shot. So the cure for that, and because of that, because I'm always in flight or fight or fawn, flight or fight, and I can see it. And fawn means you'll bend over backwards for somebody else and completely forget you. I've done that plenty of times too, just to keep the peace in my house or in my life. Completely losing myself. But because I'm in this high place of stress and always on, and my cortisol levels never get to drop down, I never get to regulate. Therefore, I cannot lose the weight. Not only that, I'm just discovering, just last night, reading stuff, because another thing even though I did so well with my dieting and losing the weight, once I stopped that medicine, my weight loss plateaued. And then I realized that, that it was this trauma thing, and I kind of gave up on wanting to diet and just busted my ass and, denying, because that wasn't the answer anyway. I was already doing everything right. Even withdrawing from that medicine, that Ozempic, you hear that when people get off it, their weight goes back up. Mine didn't. I stayed the same. And then I was on new medications for the fibromyalgia, and those were not conducive to weight loss. They were a little bit, weight gaining medicine, and I still didn't gain weight. I had all the discipline, was doing everything right, because I still didn't understand what was coming up. But once I did, I was like, fuck that. I'm going to eat some food because I feel like I'm starting over. My pendulum thing, it's starting over. And then I realized, now that I'm home alone, I'm really trying to be so super self-aware. And so I do great all day, but at nighttime, I want to eat. I'm not hungry, so I got my hand in a box of brand checks. Brand checks? Because I always try to find at least the cereals that have fiber at the very least. So I'm eating it. I'm like, why am I binging? Why am I doing this? Why? And I'm not beating myself up, because I understand that I'm in a place of transition and I have to be in the low vibration. I have to be in that shit place in order to pull myself out. But I kind of want to understand why I'm doing it. So I start Googling it, and I figure out that I kind of knew this before, but not to the extent I know now, because I've always felt shame about my binge eating. and my snacking at night, especially when I wasn't hungry. In the weight management clinic, they don't get at all that it's trauma. I don't understand how something that is so clear. I mean, in the profession, why these weight management clinics? It's I say clinic, but it's like a Mac Daddy place because clinic to me like implies the free clinic. Anyway, this is a fancy place, and they never even brought it up. They just they're like, well, what else can you do to lose more weight? They're like, drink more water, do more exercise, walk your dog twice a day, and eat more vegetables. And I'm like, I have done so much. So now that I realize that it has nothing to do with dieting, it has nothing to do with willpower. My brain has been wired to eat at certain circumstances, and I can trace it way back to my childhood when my dad wasn't home because he had to work late a lot. He was a very good dad. I have a lot of good memories of him. Very loving still, but he wasn't there a lot. So when he was there, he was really sweet and kind. Spent a lot of time, but he wasn't there for a lot of bedtimes. Or he'd come in. Well, that's not true because he'd come in soon after, and sometimes I'd be awake, and he'd come and he'd tuck me in. If it wasn't too late, he'd read me bedtime stories. So real sweet daddy. He just loved me a lot. But I don't have any memories of my mom reading me stories to bed or, big tuck-ins or anything. Maybe she did, I just don't remember it. But what I do remember is getting up out of bed, 5 years old, and sneaking into the kitchen. And I walk right behind her, the chair that she's watching TV in. And I go into the pantry, the kitchen's right there, and I'd open it, I'd sneak a ding dong, and I'd sometimes I'd unwrap it right there. I don't know why. I mean, that was dangerous. I was a little kid. Was it crazy? Or I'd take it to my room. But either way, I would shove the whole fucking ding dong in my mouth. And now I know I was looking for love. And then I remember, like, I'm like thinking back to like my whole relationship with my husband because things really changed with us right away. I got love bombed, and then he went, just completely different person. And I didn't even realize that until recently. I'm looking back on it. I'm like, you're right. It was just normal to me for people to treat me like shit. So I didn't even really remember how I was love bombed, but I was. It didn't take long for me to become hooked because not very many people was that kind to me or were that kind. So anyway, um, so yeah, and then with my husband, throughout the years, I spent a lot of time being lonely. I know that, I left, I gave up. I know it started in the womb with me. My mom never even wanted me. So I was born into a mother-daughter relationship in which I was not loved properly. I wasn't, my emotions weren't mirrored. I learned real quick to provide her the experience that she needed to have. And then so I married into a relationship like that. I gave myself up for these people. And and I parts of me didn't mind it. He like got a job when we lived in LA. He got a job to New Jersey, and I was excited to move to New Jersey. But I gave up anything that I wanted to do, and I just did bullshit jobs around. I never got a career. I don't even know what I want to do. I don't even know who I am really. So one of the reasons I moved out of this house, okay, because I got to talk about the man again. I know I'm like rambling, but when I saw that list on the phone of all of the things that his abuse has caused me, even my mom's abuse, I think my polycystic ovaries came from abuse and all of this other stuff. And I walked into the, my healing room where he's staying, and I said, I'm not here to beat you up. I'm not here to fight, but I just wanted to show this to you. And I showed him the real and I showed him the words. And we all have our stimming things. Well, he starts chewing on his, because that's what he does when he's nervous. He's chewing on his shirt. He goes, I am really, really sorry if I was the one that caused you all of that pain. And he did say if instead of that, but I'm going to let that slide because, again, I'm the communicator and he probably didn't even notice. Maybe that was even like a little narcissistic, doorway out for him. But I've never heard him be so accountable and so sincere. And I said, baby, I've been learning about this, that I'm in trauma. And the only way for me to heal from it is to be out of the trauma. So we can't live together. And I said, I go, I know you love that other house. I know you feel like it's yours, but I think it makes sense for me to go spend time there. Because here's another thing. He got out of work in like September for his surgery. He doesn't have to go back to work until next year, January. So we would be together a lot. But one of his other things, I hate to throw him under the bus, but whatever, he's healing too, and that's too bad. He also hoards. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. He's got a bit of a hoarding issue, and that too came from traumatic experience as a child. Some of it's because his mom would just go through his shit and sell it at garage sales without his permission. Others just being poor and needing, to like cling on to everything. He was very, very poor. Things like that. Also, he had to like buy his own like socks and underwear at a very young age. So, he clings to things, and it makes me feel like I can't be in that space because it's so busy. We did the same thing with the other house. We literally outgrew it, and because there was so much fucking shit in there from him hoarding. He can't throw anything away. So anyway, I go, cleaning out your house will also be a way to clean out your traumas, the things you've clung to that you don't need. It's symbolic. You throw it away. You don't need it anymore. You don't need that bit in your life. You don't need that energy. You don't need that piece of whatever. You don't need all those fucking empty boxes, whatever it is. So that's what we're doing. I'm over here healing, and I do like somatic yoga, which I'd never heard of. What that is very slow yoga. And what you're supposed to do is just feel and pay attention to movement. Like notice when your body touches a surface or whatever. Notice how, your body feels this way. Focus on your breath. There's a lot of breath work. So I do that. I do like some chair yoga because same thing, just moving slowly, and I'd rather sit in a chair than on my ground. I feel like I have more room to move because I'm still kind of like a squished up little marshmallow. When I sit on a chair, I can stretch out a little bit and get some more movement in there. Um, um, I also make sure I get physical exercise. And this house is so cute. It's so peaceful. I've never ever lived on my own before. And here I am in a 3-bedroom house that he furnished. I mean, it's his design, but he did a pretty good job. I have to give him points for that. He hung some pictures a little bit too high, and he has a lot of live, laugh, and love shit. But he collected everything from garage sales or internet, like offer up stuff. He did really well. And even though I've never got to design my own place, I don't have the brains for it right now. Everything feels hard and overwhelming. Every task to start feels like such a huge deal to me. So I moved right into this house that was ready to go. This is the only room that was not furnished. And he has intentions, actually, he'd like to rent it out to flight attendants that will live here part time. And then, he still wanted to keep the master room, which I'm all for him getting some money in for the flight attendant roomies. Bring them on. I get that nice room. And we also have a pool. There's a pool in the backyard with a waterfall, and it's so zen. He's got party lights hanging in the trees. It's really nice. I can't swim in the pool right now because the heater's broken and the water got too cold. But I did for a while, and maybe he'll get the heater fixed because I really enjoy floating. But anyway, if I'm gonna have my day event, I'll have it at this house because it is pretty zen. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's what's going on with Robert, and I'm sure that there'll be more stuff that I will remember or whatever. But let me now jump to Michael because something happened with him too, and it just so happened to correlate with my husband, me, telling my husband to fuck off, paraphrasing, because again, he was very sweet. And in fact, we're still like we visit. I miss my family so much. That's another thing that we're doing differently. Like I had this like doctor kind of like she wasn't quite a therapist. I won't go into it, but she kind of was. And ironically or coincidentally, she just left her narcissistic husband. So she's like, getting on me. She's like, he's already pulling you back in, getting you to help him heal from his hip surgery. And I try to explain to her that, it's not like that with us. It's okay. and she just wasn't getting it. There was such a filter, and so I just was like, okay, you're right, okay. But we really are doing it differently. I mean, he still knows that once I heal, I'm going to get myself a boyfriend, but he also knows that I'm not going to choose to stay with the boyfriend. At least that's the going theory for now, but who knows? I might be an outlier. M6, we tend to do similar things, and I know that, that stuff's already gone on with one of us, and it might with another of us, and then there's the others. So who knows? But I have a feeling that I would not stay with this boyfriend, and my reasoning right now is because, well, the same reason that I didn't want to like keep Michael. Not that I had a choice, because Michael, he lived his own life, whether I didn't have any say so in it. But pretend like I did. I would have, much rather have been with somebody else and have a family, because that's something that feels so important to me that I was projecting that onto somebody else. If you think you might want to have one and you're not sure, then go do it with somebody else and go be with them, because I don't want to stop you. By all means, you go have that experience. So this boyfriend that's going to come my way is going to be younger than me, no, never been married, no kids. And maybe that's, maybe he wants to have that. I have a feeling that's why I'm going to break up with him. I don't know. We'll see. And then my Robert also knows about Michael too, that I'm gonna have some kind of relationship with him. And I'm not sure what that's gonna be yet. I kind of have an idea, but let me go back to him, because remember I said that when I was in Amsterdam this last time, I toasted myself with my grown-up cocktail on, having my own date with myself from my bucket list. And that the year before, I was like, okay, well, I withdrew my energy, I withdrew my messages, so it's on him now. I gotta wait for him to come back. If he does, then great. If not, I can't do anything else. So he came back in May, and when I saw here's his long, involved message. Hi, was it? And of course, my jaw dropped. It came around like 11 or 12 at night for me, but he's like 7 hours ahead of me, so it was his morning. I ignored it and I slept on it, and I was like, I just like, so the next day, I opened my message and I started the conversation and tried to figure out what was going on. And, it was really, really nice. We just hit it off, and we were laughing and sharing stories and videos and pictures about our families, and just catching up a little bit. He's such a stranger to me. I've never had that much like animated engagement with him. At least, definitely not as me. Maybe as crazy girl Mariana when I was a teenager and fucked up and in so much pain and had scribbles in my brain. But now I'm like, well, full of trauma, but I got my shit together more or less. My brain's back. I'm only one person in here for now. So I got to know him again, and what was interesting to me is that he didn't know about Mariana. That was the first time I had told him, and as this went on, I started to see like he started to feel like a real person to me. He never did before. The relationship never felt real because it was like hyper real, too real. I loved him too much. It was too intense. I mean, I would have dropped everything to be with him. Except, I wanted him to have a family. So that's kind of what kept me grounded. I mean, my own kids couldn't have kept me grounded, but I didn't have any money to go anywhere. I was too fucked up to go anywhere. My brain, the scribbles. So I was stuck. And, you can say all you want that, you have the choice to go. And, that's true to some extent, but you all know that it doesn't happen in 1 minute sometimes. I mean, it feels like it when that minute happens, but you got things to do, and you have things in your path, and you have, stars that need aligning. So my stars have not aligned yet to leave. Clearly, I'm doing it, the way I'm supposed to. I got this house all set up for me. Oh yeah. So I told my husband, so sorry, I gotta go back to that, but I'm gonna go heal at that other house. You stay here and you clean, and you be daddy bear to all the kids. You do all the things that you've always been envious of me. Give me a break. I've got burnout. It's just non-fucking stop. It's non-stop. And I love the kids. I'm not mad at them. But all the fucking shit that I gotta do for the kids, I didn't have my own life. I was like on call for them. All I did was serve other people. Once a week, I'd go to the movies. Once a month, I'd see Sarah. I didn't have my own anything. Okay, so with Michael, I'm thinking, okay, so I did it right. I left him alone and he came back to me. He must be in love with me. So I try to, like, pump him for information. And at some point I realize he's not in love with me. He's completely engaged with his family. He's got no intention of having a romance with me or even, a close friendship. The guides also said that not only would I be friends with my husband, I'd be friends with Michael, the best of friends. So I don't know. I mean, none of this felt like it was going in that direction. And then as I started to get a little bit irritated by, oh, I know he pissed me off. He said something that pissed me off in my other video. I told a good chunk of the story as vague as I could, but I'm going to skip it this time. It pissed me off. It triggered me and triggered me and triggered me. And I realized, you know what? We're doing it again. Now, we had like a couple different patterns going on, but this was getting me right back to square one. The very beginning, where when I first met him, everything was really great, and then it slowly went to shit. He had he met another girl, um, and you know pulled away from me. I was never even a real girlfriend. I was just this crazy girl that would puke her love all over him, puke my love on him without any reciprocity. And so that started to happen again. I would get really excited to, like, wait for him. Did he message me back? And um, whatever it was, this past summer, I'd get disappointed because he didn't message me yet, or he didn't read my message. And I won't say it like it broke my heart or anything close to that, but I don't even want to be disappointed by him or anybody else. If I'm like feeling like I'm waiting on you to come back to me and it's making me feel bummed out, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do that. So I realized God damn it, this is when I, pull away from him. He had to come to me first in order for me to pull away. And that's when the energies theoretically shift. Although in our case, I don't think they shifted instantly at all. Um, I don't even know if he shifted yet. Let me tell you what I did about him. I went on this road trip, this unexpected road trip. Thanks, universe. I had a blast. And I wish I could tell you more about that. But one of the things that happened is I drove by Donald Trump's house by accident. I thought I was going to get in trouble for having weed and getting high in the car. But that's not what the police were surrounding the area for. Not for little old me. It was for Trump's house. Anyway, I drove by it. It looked a little bit run down, to be honest with you. But the other neighbors, I couldn't even see their houses because the hedges were so tall. Nobody should have, no one single entity, family, whatever, should have that much money. It was inappropriate to me. It was too much. Spread the wealth just a little bit, okay, guys? Okay, so anyway, I did end up going to a beach down near Miami, sort of. I didn't get in good on my earlier in the trip. I'm like, this is my last day. I gotta swim. Well, I swam a little too much. I ended up missing my flight. By the time I got to the airport, I would have been there just in time. But it just so happened that there were about a half a dozen or 4 dozen other flights leaving at the same time, and the security line was out the door of the airport. I've never seen it so long. I just gave up, and I'm like, fuck, because I would have made that flight if I stand by, and it's so nice to know that you're gonna get on that flight no matter what. And then I fucking blow it because I had to swim. But everything happens for a reason. And I just crashed at the airport that night. I'm scrolling through my phone and I read about a new kind of narcissist that I had never heard of. And that was the breadcrumb narcissist. I'm like, motherfuck, that's what Michael is. He breadcrumbed me from day one. So, I mean, I feel like I just, I'm such a nice person, and I have had all these narcissistic personalities in my life that I've had to ditch. My mom, my former, you know, YouTube show partner, not H, and then the love bomber narcissist, and then my husband, and then Michael. I mean, there's just so many, and I think I'm done with the fucking narcissists. So now I get to discover who I am. Oh, wait, so what did I do? Sorry. Okay, so I actually My 10-year twiniversary on August 17th was coming up, and I had been planning for a while to do something special for that. But I couldn't, I didn't know what I was going to do. And God, I really want to wrap this up. There's no way I'm going to get it all done in an hour like I wanted to. But anyway, what ended up happening is that I decided to celebrate my 10-year twiniversary by telling Michael to fuck off. Paraphrasing again. So what I did was send him a video just like this one. He got his own version of Silver Linings. And I just told him about what, just about so many things that I'd never got a chance to really tell him before. And I've never spoke to him like this. And he's never watched any of my Silver Linings videos, I found out. So he doesn't really know what's going on with me and going on in my head. He has some ideas. Anyway, he didn't hear me speak to him like this. It's always in writing. And I had a lot to say. I had 10 years worth of saying, so it was kind of a long video. And I told him why I had to break up with him, and I told him to not come back. I said, I love you so much. You're my twin. I have very deep love for you, but letting you go is too painful for me, and I see that I have to let you go again. So don't come back. Don't come back unless your switch flipped and you feel love for me. Well, I know that he did not read or watch this video I did, because it wasn't too long after that he sent me a meme, and I thought about not looking at it, not opening it, but I was curious and I looked, and it was cute and it was appropriate. So I guess he kind of does know who I am a little bit. But clearly he did not watch that video, because he did not leave me alone. Anyway, we're back there then. So, and he doesn't think that we're twins. He doesn't think that any of that's real. He thinks that he's there for me to evolve, but he doesn't believe that those tables are going to turn. For a long time, I didn't either, and I have a reason for that, but I'm running out of time. So I think, either, and I really, really believe that, all of the stories are true, that we are going to be friends, that there is going to be some kind of something. We are M6. We do all the same shit. So, I said to him, I go, either I'm right and your heart's going to, open up and you're going to come, so see, that's another thing. I figured out his attachment style too. I'm not going to get into it because whatever. Anyway, he's like many men are, and he's very quiet. I feel like he doesn't deal with things by just like walking away and not, let's just pretend like it doesn't exist. And maybe that's why he's fallen off so many times with me, because I'm so expressive and then he's nothing. Maybe it's too much for him. I don't know. And I don't mean to say like, we're just different, different styles of processing things. So when I say it's too much for him, I don't mean to say like that little pussy can't handle it. I just mean he's a different kind of person. I understand. I mean, I feel like I'm quite a force. I've been speaking for a whole fucking hour to a little tiny circle. Okay, so, I got a lot to say. So I let go of him, and, either I'm right and you're going to come back to me, or you're right and we're never going to see each other again. But that's just not going to happen. We'll see each other. So, oh my gosh, I did do pretty good. I might be able to get this done in under an hour. I'm going to try my best. I know I have more things to say, but whatever. That is the short version. And I'm going to get going with the next show. I've already got guests lined up. One last thing. I thought I wasn't going to go anywhere. I thought I was going to stay home because I thought my big 2-week road trip was going to be it for the year. But all of a sudden I'm free. So if any of you are still watching this and you'd like to host me, or if you have a suggestion on where I could spend a couple days, I really want to go to Europe. I want to fly first class. That in itself is an experience I want to have. So let me know. I'm ready. I'm ready to come, have you cook for me and stuff. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching this. I will see you again as soon as I do. Silver Linings 1 might be done, but I have a feeling that there is another season coming up. All right, you guys, thank you again for letting me heal through sharing my stories with you. I'll be back.